When the sack was open, Shalewa's fear intensified as two massive pythons came out of it. Don't worry, Shalewa. It is all part of the ritual. Ritual? What do you mean by that? I thought you said I would sleep with you and your friend. You are not sleeping with me nor my friend. You are having the threesome with this python. Just follow instruction and everything will be fine. In a small town of Ilase, Shalewa was the second child of Pastor Adeboyega, a well-known pastor in their community. Her father wasn't a rich man, but he was respected for his strict Christian values. He always reminded his children that God is watching and they should never follow the worldly ways. He always said, train a child in the way they should go, and when they grow up, they won't depart from it. Shalewa and her siblings grew up in this atmosphere, learning to pray every morning and night, attended church services without missing them, and avoided the distraction of the world. But Shalewa was different. She had the beauty of an angel, tall, fair-skinned, with full coiled hair that framed her face perfectly. Everywhere she went, people turned to admire her, and men tried to catch her attention. Some even make jokes about calling her their wives. Our wife, oh, our wife, they would always say whenever she goes to Mama Ejima's shop. But it wasn't just her looks that made her stand out. Shalewa was smart. Her teachers always praised her for her brilliance. Her father would say, "Shalewa, my child, God has given you both beauty and brain. Don't waste it on nonsense." Still, despite the attention from her teachers and the admiration of her family, Shalewa longed for something different. Then, there was her best friend, Adako. Adako came from a rich family. Her father was a businessman who spent most of his time outside the country. Her mother, on the other hand, was more interested in socializing than parenting. Because of this, Adako had the freedom to do as she pleased. Her parents didn't check on her the way Shalewa's parents did. Adako had a life filled with excitement, party and flashy things. Things that Shalewa admired from a distance. Every time Shalewa visits Adako, she was drawn to a life her friend was living. Adako had the latest phone, wore designer's clothes, and could stay out as late as she wants without anyone questioning her. Unlike Shalewa, who had to sneak out at night to meet Adako, Adako lived like a queen. The more Shalewa spent time with Adako, the more she wanted to be like her. "Shalewa, you can't keep living under your father's strict rules. You are too young for this. You need to enjoy your life. Life is too sweet too," Adako would always say. At first, Shalewa felt guilty. What would her father think if he knew she was sneaking out? But as time went on, she started to feel like her father's rules were holding her back. Adako's lifestyle seemed so free, and Shalewa craved for that freedom. One night, after sneaking back into the house from one of her late-night visits to Adako's place, Shalewa looked into the mirror. She loved how the world saw her as the perfect pastor daughter, but deep inside, she knew that her heart was already drifting far away from her father's teaching. After her secondary school graduation, Shalewa's father was excited when she got accepted to study nursing in the University of Lagos. Her father was proud. "My daughter is going to be a nurse," he would tell everyone at the church. But while Pastor Adeboyega was making plans for her future, Shalewa was already dreaming about the life she could live in Lagos, far from her father's watchful eyes. Adako, on the other hand, had also gotten into the university. She was going to study business administration in the same city. This was perfect for both of them. Lagos was the land of opportunities, and they couldn't wait to explore it together. When Shalewa got into the university, she was determined to make her father proud, but the influence of Adako was never away. They both stayed off campus in a rented apartment Adaku's parents had paid for, while Shalewa's parents sent her to university with the hope that she would stay focused on her study. Adaku's world of party, outing, and rich friends began to pull her in. At first, Shalewa tried to balance her study with her new lifestyle. She still attended classes, submitted assignments, and tried to keep up with her nursing courses, but Adaku was always in her ear. "Shalewa, relax, Joe. We are young. There is time to study later. For now, let's have some fun," Adaku would say with a laugh as they prepared to head out for another night outing. The fun was addictive. The men Adaku introduced Shalewa to were wealthy, older, and treated them like queens. They bought them expensive clothes, phones, and perfumes. Shalewa loved the attention and gifts. For the first time, she felt like she was living the life she had dreamt of. Her parents, however, had no idea what was going on. Every time she spoke to them on phone, she made sure to sound like the obedient daughter they knew. "Yes, Daddy, I am focusing on my study," she would say, even though she had just returned from a late night party with Adaku. As the semester progressed, Shalewa found herself sinking deeper into the new lifestyle. The men she and Adaku spent time with were influential people in Lagos. One of them, Chief Okoro, was particularly fond of Shalewa. He was a rich and well-connected man in his 50s who never spared any expense to get what he wanted. "Shalewa, my friend, guess what? You know that Chief Okoro, he really likes you," Adaku told her one evening as they were preparing to meet the man for dinner at one of the most expensive restaurants in Lagos. "This could be your chance to secure your future. My sister, you better not lose guard yourself." Shalewa didn't know how to feel. Chief Okoro had been showering her with gifts for weeks now. Phones, money, clothes, but the thought of him made her uncomfortable. He was much older, and she wasn't interested in a relationship with someone like that. That night at the restaurant, Chief Okoro's intention became clearer. He held Shalewa's hand and whispered, "You are a beautiful girl, Shalewa. A girl like you deserves the best in life. Let me take care of you," Chief Okoro said. Shalewa smiled politely, but inside she was anxious. After dinner, Chief Okoro offered to drive her back to her apartment, but Shalewa declined, saying she was going with Adaku. As they rode back in a cab, Shalewa couldn't shake the unease she felt. "Adaku, I don't like the way Chief is acting," she said. Adaku waved her off. "Shalewa, you too they do. Don't overthink it. He just wants to spoil you. It's not a big deal. You will enjoy you." But it was a big deal to Shalewa. She didn't want to be trapped in a situation where she owed something to a man like Chief Okoro. Yet, the lifestyle she had become accustomed to was becoming harder to resist. Despite her growing discomforts, Shalewa continued to enjoy the benefits of her new life. Her grades began to suffer. She skipped classes more frequently and spent more time at social gatherings than studying. Whenever she remembered her father's advice about staying focused, she pushed the thoughts aside. After all, she was young and there was plenty time to get back on track. But the truth was, Shalewa was already in too deep. One night, after another lavish party hosted by Chief Okoro, Shalewa was alone in her apartment. Adaku had gone out with another friend, and Shalewa had the time to think. She picked up her phone and saw several missed calls from her father. Guilt washed over her. She hadn't called home in weeks, and she knew her parents were worried. With a heavy heart, she dialed her father's number. "Hello, Papa," she said. Her voice was shaky. "Shalewa, my child, where have you been? Why haven't you called us since? Is everything okay?" Pastor Adeboyega's voice was filled with concern. Shalewa forced a smile, even though her father couldn't see her. "Everything is fine, Papa. I have just been busy with schoolwork." Her father sighed. "Shalewa, You know I am praying for you. Please stay focused, so you have a bright future ahead." As she ended the call, tears filled her eyes. She missed the simple life she used to have, but she couldn't deny the excitement that came with her new lifestyle. The next day, Shalewa woke up with a heavy heart. Her father's words echoed in her mind. She knew she had strayed far from the path he set for her, but she didn't know how to turn back. Adako had gone out early, leaving Shalewa alone with her thoughts. As she laid in bed, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Chief Okoro, asking to meet for lunch. Shalewa stared at the message, her heart pounding. Chief Okoro's attention was becoming overwhelming, and she wasn't sure how to handle it. She decided to ignore the message for now and focus on her schoolwork. It had been a while since she attended lectures, and she was falling behind. With a deep breath, she got dressed and headed to campus. As she walked through the university gates, she felt out of place. Her classmates were going about their daily routines, and it felt like she was returning to a world she had abandoned. She made her way to the lecture hall, hoping to catch up on missed lessons. When she entered the hall, some of her classmates shot her curious glances. Shalewa had always been the brilliant, focused one, but now she had become the girl who was barely around. The lecturer noticed her late arrival and paused for a moment, giving her a brief disapproval look. After the lecture for the day, Shalewa gathered her notes and headed for the library, determined to study. But just as she sat down, her phone rang again. This time, it was Adako. "Shalewa, where are you?" Guess what? Adako's voice was excited. "Chief invited us to his beach house for the weekend. It is going to be fun. You should come, oh. If you miss this one, girl, now you lose, oh." Shalewa hesitated. She knew she should be focusing on her studies, but the temptation from Adako's carefree life was hard to resist. "I don't know, Adako. I'm not sure I can make it," Shalewa said, her voice uncertain. "I have missed a lot of lectures already, and I really need to catch up." Adako sighed dramatically. "Shalewa, now wow, now you go school pass. You are always worrying about school. Relax, there is plenty time to study. You don't want to miss out on this, so it is going to be amazing. I've told you my own." After a moment of silence, Shalewa reluctantly agreed. "Fine, I will come, but just for the weekend," Shalewa said. The following weekend, Shalewa found herself at Chief Okoro's luxurious beach house. The place was breathtaking. Large glass windows overlooked the ocean, and the sounds of the waves crashing against the shores created a relaxing atmosphere. There were expensive cars parked outside, and several guests were already lounging by the pool, sipping cocktails. Shalewa felt a pang of guilt as she stepped inside. This wasn't the life her parents had raised her to live. She thought about her father back home, probably preparing for Sunday service, while she was here, living a lie. But Adako had a way to make everything seem normal. "Come on, Shalewa, cheer up. Don't be a fun killer," Adako laughed, dragging her toward the pool area. "We are here to have fun, so enjoy this moment." After a while, Chief Okoro greeted them warmly, his eyes lingering on Shalewa's body. He was dressed in a loose white kaftan and seemed to be in high spirits. "Shalewa, Shalewa, you look so beautiful as always," Chief said, handing her a glass of champagne. "I am glad you could make it too." Shalewa forced a smile and took the glass, but she couldn't shake the unease feeling that settled in her chest. Throughout the day, Chief's attention was focused solely on her. He kept trying to get her alone, but Shalewa always found a way to avoid it. Adako, on the other hand, seemed to be enjoying herself without a care in the world. As the evening approached, the party grew louder. Music blared from the speakers, and more people arrived. Shalewa, feeling out of place, excused herself and found a quiet spot near the beach. She sat down on the sand, watching the waves rolling. Her mind was racing. She didn't want to disappoint her parents, but she was already in too deep. She thought about Chief's intentions and the dangerous path she was treading. While she was lost in her thoughts, Chief Okoro appeared beside her. "Shalewa, you have been avoiding me all day," he said with a low voice. Shalewa's heart skipped a beat. She stood up quickly, brushing the sand off her dress. I am not avoiding you, Chief," she said, trying to sound calm. "I just needed some air." Chief Okoro smiled, but he didn't reach his eyes. He stepped closer, making Shalewa feel uncomfortable. "You know I have been very good to you," he said softly. "I have given you gifts, taking you to nice places. Don't you think it is time to show me some appreciation?" Chief Okoro asked. Shalewa's stomach twisted. She knew what he was implying, and it terrified her. She had never been in a situation like this before. I appreciate everything, Chief," Shalewa said, her voice shaking slightly. "But I am not that kind of girl." Chief Okoro's expression hardened. "Every girl has her price. Shalewa, don't act like you are different," Chief Okoro said. Shalewa felt trapped. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. Just then, Adako appeared, laughing and unaware of the tension in the air. "Shalewa, what are you doing here? Come on, let's go back to the party," Adako said. Shalewa seized the opportunity and quickly left with Adako, relieved to be away from Chief. But as they walked back to the house, she knew things were getting out of hand. Few days later, after the beach house incident, Shalewa began to distance herself from Chief Okoro. She ignored his calls and messages, and when Adako asked her why she wasn't coming out as often, Shalewa made excuses about schoolwork. But the truth was, Shalewa was scared. She didn't want to be indebted to someone like Chief Okoro. She knew that if she continued down this path, she would lose herself completely. Her grade had already suffered a lot, and she was barely scraping through her courses. She missed her family, especially her father's guidance. Deep down, she wanted to turn things around, but it was hard to break free from the life she had built with Adako. One evening, as Shalewa was studying in her room, her phone rang. It was Adako, and she sounded panicked. "Shalewa, you need to come to my place now. It is an emergency." Shalewa's heart raced, and she asked Adako what was wrong, but immediately, Adako hung up on her before Shalewa could ask more questions. Shalewa grabbed her things and rushed over to Adako's apartment. When she arrived, she found Adako sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face. "What happened?" Shalewa asked, feeling worried. Adako wiped her eyes and pointed to a message on her phone. It was from Chief Okoro. He was angry that Shalewa had been avoiding him, and he threatened to ruin both of their lives if they didn't make it up to him. Shalewa stared at the message on Adako's phone, her hands trembling. Chief Okoro wasn't just an ordinary man. He had power, connection, and enough money to make life miserable for anyone who crossed him. She couldn't believe it had come to this. Adako paced up and down the room, her face still wet with tears. "What are we going to do now, Shalewa? This man is very serious. If we don't go and beg him, he will destroy yours," Adako said. Shalewa sat down slowly. Her mind was racing. She had always known that Adako's lifestyle was risky, but she never imagined that it would lead them into this kind of trouble. She had never wanted any of this. She just wanted to enjoy herself a little and forget about the strict life she had at home. But now, it was all crashing down around her. "I don't know what to do, Adako," Shalewa said, her voice weak. "I don't know what to do." Adako stopped pacing around and looked at Shalewa with desperation in her eyes. "We have to go and see him. We can't ignore this. He can destroy our name in this town. You know he has people everywhere," Adako said. Shalewa felt fear settled in her chest. Chief Okoro could do real damage to their lives, but the thought of going to beg him filled her with dread. She knew what he wanted, and she wasn't willing to give it. "I can't go, Adaku," Shalewa said, shaking her head. Adaku's eyes widened. "Shalewa, are you mad? Kilode, wetin dey do you? You want him to finish us, abi? You don't have a choice, oh. We don't have a choice. We have to go, or else." Shalewa stood up and she said, "There is always a choice. I am not going to sleep with that man, oh. If he wants to destroy me, let him destroy me, but I won't do it." Adaku looked at Shalewa as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. So wait, oh, Shalewa, you will let him disgrace the both of us? You are forgetting that I am in this with you. You are the one he's angry with, and you are the one that has been avoiding him. If you don't go, we are both finished. Abi, you don't forget. You chop the man money too much, oh. You want me to cast us for this area?" Adaku said. Shalewa's heart was pounding. She knew Adaku was right, but she couldn't bring herself to go and beg Chief Okoro. "See, Adaku, it is not like that, so I will think of something. I just need time to think." Shalewa left Adaku's apartment. Her mind clouded with worry. The night air was cool, but it did nothing to calm her nerves. She walked back to her hostel, her feet heavy with the weight of her thoughts. When she got to her room, she collapsed on her bed, staring up at the ceiling. How had her life gone out of control like this? She thought about her father, her mother, her siblings, how disappointed they would be if they knew what she was going through. Her father had always warned her about the dangers of bad company, but she hadn't listened. As the hours passed, Shalewa's thoughts turned darker. Maybe Adaku was right. Maybe the only way to get out of this mess was to go and sleep with Chief Okoro. She hates the idea, but what other option did she have? Just as she was about to drift off to sleep, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Adaku. "I am going to see Chief Okoro tomorrow. If you know what is good for you, you better come with me." Shalewa tossed the phone aside and buried her face in her pillow. She didn't know what to do. She slept off. The next morning, Shalewa woke up with a sense of dread. She knew that day was the day she would have to make a decision. Adaku had already made up her mind. She was going to beg Chief Okoro, but Shalewa was torn. She didn't want to go down that road, but the fear of what Chief Okoro could do was eating her away. She spent the morning pacing her room, praying silently for a solution. But as the hours ticked by, no miracle came. Her phone buzzed again. It was Adaku. "I am leaving now. Are you coming or not?" Adaku said. Shalewa stood in shock for a moment. She knew that whatever choices she made today would change her life forever. With trembling hands, she picked up her phone and typed out a reply. "I can't." A few seconds later, her phone rang. It was Adaku. "Shalewa, you dey mad? What do you mean you can't? Abi you dey forget say I be rich man pikin, and I can come out of this situation with money, but I'm just helping you, and you're behaving like this." "I am sorry, Adaku," Shalewa said, her voice shaking. "I just can't do it." Adaku was silent for a moment. Then she let out a frustrated sigh. "Fine, do whatever you want, but don't say I didn't warn you." As the days passed, Shalewa tried to focus on her studies, but she couldn't shake the feeling of doom hanging over her head. She hadn't heard from Chief Okoro or Adaku since that day, but she knew it was only a matter of time before something happened. One afternoon, as she was walking to class, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Adaku. Chief Okoro said if you don't come and see him by the end of this week, he will expose everything. He has pictures and videos. "We are finished if you don't go." Shalewa's blood ran cold. Pictures? Videos? How? When? Her mind raced as she tried to remember if there had ever been a time when Chief Okoro could have taken something like that. She felt sick to her stomach. This was worse than what she had imagined. If Chief had compromising pictures or video of her, It could ruin not just her reputation, but her entire future. Her parents, her family, everyone would be ashamed of her. With trembling hands, Shalewa called Adako. What pictures? What videos? Adako's voice was flat. I don't know, Shalewa. He just said he has them. If you don't go and meet him, he will leak everything. We are finished, oh. Shalewa's mind was spinning. How had things gotten so bad? She had been careful, at least she thought she had. But now, it seemed like Chief Okoro had the upper hand. Desperate and scared, Shalewa decided to do the other thing she could think of. She called her father. It was a difficult call to make. Her father had always been strict, and she knew that he would be disappointed in her. But at this point, she had no choice. She needed help, and she couldn't fight this battle alone. Daddy, I need to talk to you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her father's voice was calm, but firm. What is it, Shalewa? What is going on? Tears welled up in Shalewa's eyes as she explained everything. How she had been hanging out with Adako, how she had gotten involved with Chief Okoro, and how he was threatening her now. Her father was silent for a long time after she finished. Shalewa could hear his heavy breathing on the other end of the line, and she knew he was trying to contain his anger. Shalewa, he finally said, his voice low, you have disappointed me, but I will not let this man destroy you. We need to handle this situation with wisdom. I want you to come home. We will discuss this properly and see how we can deal with Chief Okoro. Shalewa's eyes filled with relief and worry. Daddy, are you sure? I don't want to cause more trouble. Adeboyega's voice was reassuring. Yes, I am sure, my daughter. We will figure this out together. But for now, come home. Shalewa agreed, and that evening, she packed a small bag and prepared to leave her hostel. Her mind was racing with thoughts. She had never imagined her life would turn out like this. As she got into the cab that would take her home, she couldn't help but think about the troubles that she would face. When Shalewa arrived home, she was greeted by her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Adeboyega, with a mixture of concern and warmth. Her mother's embrace was tight. Her father's gaze was serious. Welcome home, my daughter, Mrs. Adeboyega said softly. We have been so worried about you. Shalewa forced a smile. Thank you, Mama. I am sorry for all the troubles. They gathered in the living room, and Shalewa explained everything in detail. How Chief Okoro had threatened her, how she had been involved with Adako, and how she felt helpless. Adeboyega listened attentively, nodding occasionally. This man is trying to exploit you, and this is unacceptable. We have to confront this situation head-on. Shalewa's mother looked worried. But what can we do? He's a powerful man, no? Mr. Adeboyega nodded. I know he's powerful, but we have options. First, we need to gather evidence. We need to know exactly what he has on us and how he planned to use it. Shalewa looked at her father with hope. What should I do, Daddy? You need to stay away from Adako for now, Adeboyega said. We will handle this carefully. I will reach out to some trusted friends who might have connections that can help us. The next few days, Mr. Adeboyega began reaching out to his contacts. He spoke with few friends on the phone and people in the community and tried to find out more about Chief Okoro's background and connections. He wanted to understand how to approach this situation without making it worse. Shalewa spent the days with her mother, helping with choices around the house. It was a welcome distraction from her worries. She knew that staying busy was the best way to keep her mind off the stress. As the evening approached, her father came back home with a determined look. I have spoken to some people, and it looks like we have a chance. Chief Okoro's reputation isn't as spotless as he liked to present. Shalewa's eyes widened. What do you mean, Papa? He has some past issues with the law and some other people in the community, Adeboyega explained. We might be able to use this to our advantage, but first, we need to be careful and make sure we don't give him any reason to retaliate. The family sat down that night to discuss their plan. Adeboyega was clear about the steps they needed to take. We need to collect any evidence that can prove Chief Okoro's wrongdoings. We also need to make sure we are not putting ourselves in more dangers. Mrs. Adeboyega was worried. But what if we find out what we are doing? We have to be discreet, though, Adeboyega said. I will make sure we are careful. We don't want to provoke him further. Shalewa nodded. Okay, Daddy, I trust you. The family agreed on a plan. Adeboyega would continue gathering information, while Shalewa would stay away from Adako to avoid any more complications. They decided that they would meet with Chief Okoro only if they had a solid plan in place. Over the next few days, Adeboyega worked tirelessly to uncover more truths about Chief Okoro. He met with few trusted contacts who provided valuable information about Chief Okoro's past dealings. It wasn't long before Adeboyega discovered that Chief Okoro had been involved in several shady business deals and had a history of using his power to intimidate others. Armed with this information, Adeboyega started to formulate a strategy. He knew that confronting Chief Okoro directly would be risky, so he decided to use the information to negotiate a settlement. He hoped that by presenting Chief Okoro with evidence of his own wrongdoings, they could reach a compromise without escalating the situation. One afternoon, Adeboyega arranged a meeting with Chief Okoro at a neutral location. He wanted to ensure that the meeting was conducted in a way that would not put his family at further risks. Shalewa and her mother waited anxiously at home. As time passed, they wondered what was happening. Shalewa tried to keep herself busy with housework, but her mind kept drifting back to the impending confrontation. When Adeboyega finally returned home, his face was tense but determined. We have made a progress, he said. Chief Okoro is more willing to negotiate now that he knows that we have information about his past. Shalewa sighed with relief. So what happened next, Papa? We would draft a formal request for him to drop the threats or any compromising material he might have. Adeboyega explained. If he refuses, we will have to take further actions. But for now, we have a chance to resolve without escalating things. As the days went by, Adeboyega worked with his contacts to draft a formal letter to Chief Okoro. The letter outlined their demands and presented evidence of Chief Okoro's wrongdoings. It was a carefully crafted document designed to put pressure on Chief Okoro without provoking him further. Shalewa continued to stay at home, focusing on her studies and helping her mother. The fear of what might happen still lingered, but she felt more hopeful knowing that her father was taking action. Finally, the day came when Adeboyega received a response from Chief Okoro. The chief agreed to drop the threats and destroy any compromising material he had. In return, Shalewa's father promised to keep quiet about Chief Okoro's past and not to pursue any further action. Shalewa felt a wave of relief wash over her. The immediate danger was over, and she was grateful to her father for his hard work and dedication. With the situation resolved, Shalewa tried to put the past behind her. She knew that things would never be the same, but she was determined to rebuild her life. She focused on her studies, stayed away from bad influence, and worked on mending her relationship with her parents. But little did she know that more temptations were ahead of her. One day, Shalewa was in school when Adaku came to meet her. She tried to hold a conversation with her, but Shalewa ignored her. So later that day, Adaku decided to visit her. As Adaku stood at Shalewa's door, her eyes filled with regrets. Shalewa, still upset about their falling out, opened the door with a stern look. "What do you want, Adaku?" she asked. Adaku took a deep breath. "I came to apologize. I know I was a bad influence on you, and I am really sorry for everything. Please, can we talk?" Shalewa hesitated, but something in Adaku's voice made her soft. "Fine, you can come in," she said, stepping aside. Inside, Adaku sat down and began to explain her side. "I have realized that I have been leading you down the wrong path. I know you are angry with me, but I genuinely want to make things right." Shalewa was silent for a moment, considering Adaku's words. "You have cost me a lot, Adaku, but I guess everyone makes mistakes. But what do you want from me?" Adaku looked relieved. "I just want us to make amends. I know it won't be easy, but I want to show you that I have changed. I am hosting a birthday party for my boyfriend this weekend, and I'd like it if you came. It could be a chance for us to start over." Shalewa thought about it. She wasn't sure if it was a good idea, but she agreed to attend the party, hoping it would give them chance to rebuild their friendship. The weekend arrived, and Shalewa, dressed in a stylish outfit, heading to the club with Adaku. The place was buzzing with energy, and the music was loud. Adaku's boyfriend, who was celebrating his birthday, was already at the center of attention, surrounded by friends and well-wishers. Shalewa felt a bit out of place, but she tried to enjoy herself. Adaku and her boyfriend quickly got lost in the crowd, leaving Shalewa on her own. She decided to order a drink and find a quiet spot to relax. As she nursed her drink, a man with dreadlocks and an earring approached her. He had a confident swag and a smirk on his face. "Hey baby, do you want to dance with me?" he asked. Shalewa glanced at him with irritation. "No, thank you," she replied. The man raised his eyes. "Why not?" "My boyfriend will be here soon," she said, hoping it would discourage him. The man looked at her and said, "And what if your boyfriend gets here? What will happen?" "Your burial," Shalewa said with a cold stare, hoping it would scare him away. The man looked taken aback, but quickly walked away. Shalewa sighed in relief, feeling a bit embarrassed, but glad he left. As she was lost in thoughts, she heard someone laughing beside her. Turning around, she saw a middle-aged man in a sharp suit, holding a glass of champagne. He had a large ring on his hand and a friendly smile. "Is your boyfriend planning my wedding too?" he asked, laughing. Shalewa couldn't help but laugh at his comments. He seemed well-dressed, which made him seem less intimidating. "No, not at all," she said. The man introduced himself as Femi. "I like your style," he said. "My name is Femi Adebayo. May I have a word with you?" Shalewa agreed, and Femi led her to a quieter place of the club, where the music wasn't loud. As they walked, she playfully asked, "Can you afford me?" To her surprise, Femi started feeling her body. 500k, she said with a smile, thinking it was a joke. Femi responded with a serious tone. 1 million for threesome. Shalewa was shocked. She had never seen such a large sum of money before and wasn't expecting this kind of offer. Despite her surprise, the thought of such huge amount was tempting. Femi's charm and the thought of his friend's good looks were also tempting, and Shalewa figured it might be worth considering. "Okay," she said, trying to remain calm. Femi asked for her account number, and she provided it. Moments later, she received an alert of 1.5 million naira. Her excitement was palpable. She felt a rush of thrill and nervousness. "Where is your friend?" Shalewa asked. Femi explained that his friend was shy and didn't like clubs. He assured her they would go to his house where everything would be arranged. Shalewa followed him. Her mind was racing with mixed emotions. As they arrived at Femi's house, she was impressed at how huge it was. The place was a mansion with an elevator inside. Femi told her to get ready while he went to fetch his friends. Despite her apprehension, Shalewa decided to stay, thinking it was an opportunity she couldn't pass up. Femi returned with a white man who was holding a large sack. Shalewa's heart skipped a beat. The sight of the sack and the man made her nervous. "What is in the sack?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Just wait and see," Femi replied. When the sack was open, Shalewa's fear intensified as two massive pythons came out of the bag. What do you think happened to Shalewa? Find out in the next chapter. But before then, I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section.